Preston fired me at 9 a.m. By noon, he'd lost $50 million. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up to that board meeting. Your services are no longer required, Nathan. My younger brother's voice carried across that mahogany table like he'd been practicing the line for weeks. Probably had. The board members shifted in their seats, some looking uncomfortable, others just staring at their laptops like the numbers there were more interesting than watching a man get canned from his own family's company. I'm Nathan Ashford, 52 years old. Until about 10 seconds ago, I was VP of Operations at Ashford & Associates, the defense supply chain company my father built in Arlington, Virginia. Spent 15 years here after 8 years running logistics in the Marine Corps. Built this place from a regional player into a serious defense contractor with Pentagon connections. Preston wore that smug smile I'd seen my whole life. The golden boy, finally getting his moment. Clear your office by end of day, he added, already flipping to the next agenda item. I picked up my notepad and walked out. Clean, no drama. The door closed behind me, and that was supposed to be the end of Nathan Ashford at Ashford & Associates. Troy Nielsen was waiting at his desk when I walked by. My operations manager, former Marine, guy I'd known since Camp Pendleton. His face said he already knew. He actually did it, Troy said quietly. Yeah, he did. We went to my office. Troy shut the door. I gave myself exactly 30 seconds to process what just happened, then opened my desk drawer and pulled out a leather portfolio I'd kept current for the last 5 years. Remember that restructuring we did in 2020? I asked. When I set up Ashford Strategic Solutions? Troy's eyes went wide. The LLC that holds the contracts. I nodded. Time to remind my baby brother who actually runs things around here. See, I saw this coming years back. Our father, Richard Ashford, always favored Preston. Didn't matter that the kid had 0 field experience. Preston had the Wharton MBA, the polished presentations, the right handshake for the country club crowd. I had 8 years running supply chains in Afghanistan, but apparently that wasn't as impressive as business school. You're too direct, Nathan, Dad would say. Preston has the diplomatic touch we need for growth. What Preston had was the ability to take credit for my work. While I was building relationships with defense contractors over golf and bourbon, Preston was the face at headquarters. While I negotiated the deals that doubled our profit margins, Preston gave PowerPoint presentations to the board using my numbers. 5 years ago, when Dad started talking succession planning, I made my move. My attorney, Diane Porter, helped me set up Ashford Strategic Solutions, LLC. On paper, it looked like a tax structure. Really, it was my insurance policy. This gives us flexibility with DoD contracts, I'd explained to Dad. Veteran-owned status, my security clearance transfers cleaner through a separate entity. He signed off without really understanding it. Why would he question something that improved the bottom line? Over the next 5 years, I quietly migrated every major defense contract to my LLC. The paperwork was right there in the files if anyone bothered to look. But Preston was too busy planning his CEO office to notice that the contracts listed Ashford Strategic Solutions as the prime contractor, with Ashford & Associates as just the fulfillment partner. Dad announced his retirement last month. The succession plan came out. Preston becomes CEO, I stay VP of Operations. I do the work, he wears the crown. That lasted exactly 3 weeks until this morning's ambush. My phone started buzzing before I even finished packing. First call was Claire Donovan, CFO at Titan Defense Systems, our largest client. Nathan, what's this email from your brother saying he's my new point of contact? I sat back in my chair. Morning, Claire. Yeah, management changes. Preston's the new CEO. Our contract is with you. With Ashford Strategic Solutions. Her voice had an edge. Does he understand that? I don't think he's looked at the actual paperwork yet. Well, someone better explain it to him fast. We signed with your company because of your logistics background, the Marine Corps supply chain experience. That's what we're paying for, not some MBA who's never been in the field. 3 more calls came in over the next hour. Same story. None of them wanted to work with Preston. At 10:30, Preston called. I let it ring a few times. Where are the client files? His voice was tight, controlled panic starting to show. And why is Claire Donovan saying she won't work with us? Files are in the shared drive where they've always been, I said. As for Claire, She's exercising her contractual rights. What the hell does that mean? I could picture him in Dad's old office, probably wearing one of those expensive suits, face getting red. Check the contract headers, Preston. All our major defense accounts are with Ashford Strategic Solutions. That's my company. Ashford & Associates is the fulfillment partner. The clients work with me, not the family name. Silence. 10 full seconds. You can't do this. Already did. 5 years ago. With Dad's approval and the board's signatures on everything. This is sabotage. No, Preston, this is business. You wanted to be CEO? Congratulations. But the relationships, the contracts, the actual revenue, that's mine. Always has been. I hung up. Troy appeared at my door with a cardboard box of his own stuff. Just quit, he said, grinning. Told HR I'm joining Ashford Strategic Solutions effective immediately. That's when it really hit me. This wasn't just payback. This was my shot to build something actually mine. I picked up my box and took one last look around. Let's go build a company. By noon, I was set up in my home office in Arlington making calls. My dining room table looked like a war room, contract files spread everywhere, laptop open, and a bottle of Maker's Mark sitting there. Not drinking it yet, just looking at it. Dad taught me to appreciate good bourbon. The Marines taught me when to keep a clear head. The conversations went better than I'd hoped. By 3 p.m., I'd talked to all 9 of our top defense clients. Every single one was following me. Together, they represented 75% of Ashford & Associates' revenue. Preston was sitting in that CEO office with a company that just lost 3/4 of its business in 4 hours. What about fulfillment? Richard Hayes from Patriot Logistics asked. You've got the relationships, Nathan, but can you actually deliver without your family's infrastructure? Fair question. Until this morning, I'd had Ashford & Associates' warehouse network, their transport partners, their systems. I've been planning for this transition, I told him. Mostly true. I've secured partnerships with facilities in Richmond and Baltimore. Your operations won't see any disruption. What I didn't mention was that I'd finalized those partnerships in a panic over the last 3 hours. I was building the plane while flying it, but that's what Marines do. My phone buzzed. Text from Owen Reed, this 28-year-old former Marine I'd been mentoring in operations. Heard what happened. Preston's losing it. Half the ops team wants out. You hiring? Before I could answer, another text. Preston. Emergency board meeting tomorrow, 8 a.m. Your presence is required. I actually laughed. Required? He'd fired me 6 hours ago. Texted Owen. Send names. Everyone interested. Good packages for all. Texted Preston. My attorney will attend. Phone rang immediately. I let it go to voicemail. Rang again. I picked up. This isn't a request, Nathan. Preston's voice was shaking. The board needs to understand what's happening with our clients. I don't owe anyone anything, I said. You fired me. Service is no longer required. Those were your words. That was before I understood the contract situation, the situation that's been in place for 5 years, the one Dad and the board approved, that situation. You deliberately hid this. No, Preston, I created a business structure. It's not my fault you never bothered to understand how things actually work. That's on you. Dad's gonna lose his mind over this. There it was, his ace card. Always had been. Maybe so. But I stopped needing Dad's approval about 20 years ago. Good luck tomorrow. I hung up and just sat there for a minute. My phone buzzed again. Dad, we need to talk. I set it down. Whatever he wanted could wait. Tonight, I had to figure out how to actually run a company with clients expecting service starting Monday. That evening, Troy came over. We sat at my kitchen table with the Maker's Mark finally open, sketching the company structure on a legal pad. We need bodies, Troy said. Can't run 9 major contracts with just the 2 of us. Owen's sending a list. Says half the ops team is ready to jump. Preston hired his fraternity buddy Bryce as COO last month. Guy's a disaster. Everyone hates him. I poured us both 2 fingers. How many you think we can get? Give me 48 hours. I'll have 8, maybe 10. We clinked glasses. Troy looked at the notes we'd made. You really think we can pull this off? Marines have done harder things with less. Yeah, but usually we had air support. I laughed. First time all day. We've got something better. We've got clients who actually want to work with us. The next morning, Diane Porter headed to the Ashford and Associates board meeting while I set up in a temporary office space I'd secured overnight in Tyson's Corner. By 8 a.m., I was conducting my first staff meeting as CEO of Ashford Strategic Solutions. Troy, Owen, and 6 other guys who'd quit that morning sat around a borrowed conference table. Most looked nervous but determined. "Here's the situation," I said. "We've got the clients and the expertise. What we don't have is infrastructure. We're building everything on the fly. It's going to be brutal for a while. But we've got something Ashford and Associates lost: the relationships that actually matter." "What about warehousing?" one of the logistics guys asked. "A&A has exclusive contracts with most facilities around here, which is why we're not fighting that battle. Richmond and Baltimore partnerships are temporary. We'll establish our own presence once we're stable." My phone rang. Diane calling from the board meeting. I put her on speaker. "Meeting just wrapped," she said. "It got heated. Tell me. Preston tried to claim your LLC setup was breach of fiduciary duty. Wanted them to sue you." My stomach tightened even though I knew our legal position was solid. "2 board members shut him down hard," Diane continued. "Turns out they actually read the contracts back in 2020. They reminded Preston the structure has delivered exceptional results for 5 years. No lawsuit." Relief hit me. So we're clear legally. But they authorized Preston to make you an offer. They want Ashford Strategic Solutions as a permanent contractor. 5-year deal. They're essentially offering to legitimize exactly what you already have, just with better terms. I looked around at my team. They fire me, now they want to hire my company. Pretty much. The offer's solid. $3.2 million annually, guaranteed minimums, performance bonuses. They're desperate, Nathan. You walked out with 75% of their revenue. Tell them I'll review it. But we're moving forward with direct client operations regardless. After hanging up, I turned back to the team. "Looks like we've got options." Troy grinned. "You considering it, going back as a contractor?" "Maybe. Having Ashford and Associates as a client instead of an employer might actually work better while we build our own infrastructure." An hour later, a courier showed up with the formal offer and a handwritten note from Dad on his personal stationery. "You outplayed us all. Should have made you CEO years ago." I stared at those words. 52 years old, and my father finally saw me, but only after I'd proven I could walk away with everything. My phone buzzed. "Preston, this isn't over." I showed Troy the text. He shook his head. Kid never could handle losing. No, he couldn't. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't worried about Preston's threats. I had the clients, a growing team, and leverage. The next 3 weeks were brutal. 14-hour days, every day. Our temporary office became organized chaos. Morning meetings to tackle urgent issues, evening reviews of what worked and what didn't. We were figuring it out as we went, but we were making it work. 3 weeks in, I finally reviewed the board's offer properly. Called Diane to discuss my counter. "I want $3.7 million annually plus 5% equity in Ashford and Associates," I said. "That's aggressive." "It's fair value. They're desperate and I've got options." Diane was quiet for a moment. "This feels personal, Nathan." "It's family. Everything's personal." "That's what I mean. Are you making the best business decision or proving a point?" That stopped me. Was I? "You're right," I admitted. "Keep the equity ask, but drop the premium to $3.7 million flat. That's reasonable." "Much better." "What about Preston? He's been quiet since that text." "Too quiet. Makes me nervous." "He asked to meet." "Just you two. No lawyers, no board." I thought about it, set it up. I met Preston at McGarvey's Steakhouse halfway between our offices. He was already there when I walked in, sitting at a corner booth. He looked tired. Actually tired, not just stressed. The golden boy wasn't handling this well. "You look like hell," he said as I sat down. "Building a company from scratch will do that. You'd know if you'd ever actually built anything." Cheap shot, but 3 weeks of 14-hour days had worn down my filter. Preston didn't bite back. That surprised me. "I've been thinking about why you set up that LLC 5 years ago. Have you now? You never trusted us. Not me, not Dad, not the board. You always kept your escape hatch ready." I flagged down the waiter, ordered a Maker's Mark neat. "Trust gets earned, Preston. Dad spent years pushing you forward while treating me like hired help." You spent years taking bows from my work. What exactly was I supposed to trust? We're family. Family businesses collapse because people think blood matters more than competence. Dad made you CEO because you're his son, not because you earned it. And you built a secret company to steal our clients because what? You're some misunderstood genius? My bourbon arrived. I took a sip before answering. I built a structure that protected what I created. You and Dad were happy enough to profit from it until you decided I was disposable. Preston's jaw tightened. You want to know why Dad made me CEO instead of you? Sure. Enlighten me. Because you're ruthless, Nathan. This whole thing proves it. You'd burn down everything Dad built just to prove you were right. That hit harder than I expected. Is that really how they saw me? I didn't burn anything down, I said quietly. You lit the match when you fired me. I just made sure I didn't go down with the ship. We sat there in silence. 30 years of competing, of comparing, of never quite measuring up to each other in different ways. All coming down to this. So what happens now? Preston finally asked. Good question. I took another sip of bourbon and didn't have a good answer. The weeks kept grinding forward. Owen turned out to be worth his weight in gold, handling logistics problems I didn't have time for. Troy kept the team motivated when the workload felt crushing. We were making it work. Barely, but we were making it work. 2 months in, Claire Donovan flew down from Boston. She wanted to meet in person, talk about expanding our contract with Titan Defense. We met at the Army-Navy Club. I'd joined years ago, kept my membership active. It felt right, meeting there instead of some sterile conference room. Nathan, she said over her second whiskey, Titan doesn't work with companies. We work with people. You're our people. That's what matters. She slid a contract across the table. Expansion of services, 3-year commitment, significant revenue increase. This makes it official, she said. You're not just maintaining what you had, you're growing. I read through it. The numbers were solid, more than solid. Why? I asked. You could have stayed with Ashford and Associates, made this easier on everyone. Claire smiled. Because I watched you build that operation from nothing while your brother played CEO. I know who actually does the work. And now I'm watching you build a whole company in 2 months. That's who I want running our logistics. That night, I called Diane to finalize our counter-proposal to the Ashford and Associates board. The number we settled on was $3.7 million annually with that 5% equity stake. Firm offer, take it or leave it. They'll take it, Diane said. They don't have a choice. She was right. The board accepted within 48 hours. Preston would have to announce to his entire company that they were subcontracting their core business to his brother's firm. That couldn't have been easy. But I didn't feel the triumph I thought I would. Just tired. 4 months in, we moved into permanent offices in Arlington, renovated facility with proper secure areas for classified work. We'd grown to 22 employees. Revenue projections were tracking at $42 million annually. We were legitimate now, not just a startup scrambling to survive. Troy found me in my new office late one evening. You ever think about what happens if they offer you the whole thing? What do you mean? Come on, the board's not stupid. They see what you built here. They know Preston's in over his head. Eventually they're going to offer to bring you back as CEO. I'd thought about it. Of course I had. Would you want that, going back? Troy shrugged. Not my call, but you've got something here that's yours, really yours. That worth giving up? Good question. I didn't have an answer yet. 6 months after Preston fired me, I stood in the lobby of Summit Aerospace Partners. New client, biggest contract yet. Their deal would push our annual revenue past $55 million. Impressive, what you've built in such a short time, their procurement director said, showing me around. We had a unique starting point, I explained. Established team, proven track record, just under a new name. Back at the office, Troy was waiting with news. Ashford and Associates board accepted our final terms. 3-year contract, $3.7 million annually, 5% equity. It's official. I felt that complicated mix again. Satisfaction, vindication, but also something like sadness. Preston have to announce it yet? Tomorrow morning. He's got to explain to everyone that they're now subcontracting through your company. I poured us both bourbon from the bottle I kept in my office now. Can't be easy for him. You care? Yeah. Not enough to change anything, but yeah. 8 months after getting fired, Dad called. Asked me to lunch at the Army-Navy Club. Just us. He was already there when I arrived, looking older than I remembered. The stress had aged him. You look good, Nathan, he said. Success suits you. Thanks. He was quiet for a moment, then, I owe you an apology. Several, actually. I waited. I should have seen your value years ago. Should have made you CEO when I stepped down. I was stuck in old thinking. Oldest son gets the crown regardless of who actually earned it. Preston has his strengths, but not the right ones for running the company. Dad looked directly at me. You outmaneuvered all of us. Built your own empire right under our noses while we took you for granted. I did what I had to do. The board's considering something, he said carefully. They want to acquire Ashford Strategic Solutions, bring you back as CEO of the combined entity. Preston would move to Chief Marketing Officer, his actual strengths. I nearly choked on my water. And Preston agreed to this? Conditionally. He wants you two to find a way to work together. Actually work together, not just coexist. I sat back, processing. Return as CEO of the family company, but on my terms. With my team, my structure, my way of doing things. I don't know if that's possible, I said. Too much has happened. Maybe. But isn't it worth considering? I looked at my father, really looked at him. He was old now, watching everything he'd built nearly collapse because he'd backed the wrong son. And he was man enough to admit it. I'll think about it, I said, but I'm not making any promises. I didn't give Dad an answer that day. Told him I needed time to think, which was true. The offer kept rattling around in my head for weeks. CEO of Ashford and Associates, the company I'd helped build, on my terms this time. It should have been an easy yes, but something held me back. You're overthinking this, Troy said one evening. We were in my office reviewing the Summit Aerospace contract finalization. They're handing you everything you wanted. Are they though, or are they just trying to fix their mistake? Troy leaned back. Does it matter? You'd be running the show. Preston would report to you. That's total victory. Maybe. Or maybe I'd be walking back into the same family politics that pushed me out in the first place. My phone buzzed. Owen, texting from a client site in Richmond. Patriot Logistics wants to expand contract. They're asking if we can handle West Coast operations. I showed Troy the message. 6 months ago, we were scrambling to survive. Now clients want us expanding nationally. That's what happens when you actually deliver instead of just talking about it. Over the next month, 3 things happened that made my decision for me. First, Summit Aerospace signed. Their contract was worth $18 million over 3 years, with options for renewal. Our biggest win yet. Second, Owen came to me with a proposal. I've been talking to some guys I served with. 2 of them run logistics for contractors out west. If we're serious about expansion, I can bring them in. You've been planning this? He grinned. Learned from the best. Always have a backup plan. The kid reminded me of myself at 28. Hungry, strategic, not waiting for permission. Third, Preston showed up at my office unannounced. No appointment, just walked in around 6 p.m. when most of the team had gone home. We need to talk, he said. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. So, talk. He sat down, looking uncomfortable. Preston never looked uncomfortable. The board's serious about the acquisition. Dad's pushing hard for it. I know. They asked me how I'd feel reporting to you. I waited. I told them it'd be hell. For both of us. He met my eyes. But I also told them you're the better operator. Always have been. That surprised me. Preston admitting I was better at something. Dad made a mistake, he continued. He groomed me for a job I wasn't ready for. Maybe never would have been ready for. I'm good at the front-facing stuff, the relationships, the presentations. But running operations, that's your thing. So what are you saying? I'm saying if they make the offer official, I won't fight it. CMO is probably where I should have been all along. He stood up. But I need to know something. If you come back, are you going to make my life miserable? Because I can't work like that. Fair question. Was I? No, I said after a moment. You're right about your strengths. Marketing, client relations, that's valuable. I'd be stupid to waste that just to settle scores. Preston nodded slowly. Okay then. After he left, I sat there thinking, maybe this could actually work. 2 weeks later, the formal offer came. Not just acquisition of Ashford Strategic Solutions, but a complete restructuring. I'd be CEO of the combined entity, Preston as CMO, my team integrated throughout operations, board seat guaranteed, 5-year contract with significant equity stake. The number was bigger than I expected. $85 million to acquire my company plus salary and equity that had set me up for life. I called Diane to review it. This is a good deal, Nathan. Really good. I know, but you're hesitating. I built something here, something that's mine. Walking back into that boardroom feels like giving it up. Diane was quiet for a moment. You're not giving anything up. You're expanding it. Everything you built, all your people, your way of doing things, that all comes with you. You're not going back to the old Ashford and Associates. You're making them into the new version. She was right. This wasn't surrender. This was conquest. I signed the papers 3 days later. The announcement went out company-wide the following Monday. Ashford Strategic Solutions and Ashford and Associates were merging, effective immediately. Nathan Ashford, CEO. Preston Ashford, Chief Marketing Officer. Troy Nielsen, VP of Operations. Owen Reed, Director of West Coast Expansion. I spent that first week in meetings, restructuring everything. The old guard wasn't thrilled about the changes, but they didn't have much choice. The company had been bleeding money for 8 months. We were the life raft. Dad came by my office that Friday. The CEO office now, his old office. "Strange seeing you here," he said. "Strange being here." He looked around at the changes I'd already made. I'd taken down most of his old decorations, put up maps of our operational network instead. Made it functional, not ceremonial. "I'm proud of you," he said quietly. "Should have said that more when you were younger." "Yeah, you should have." He nodded, accepting that. "For what it's worth, I think you'll do better than I ever did. You understand the work in a way I never took time to learn." After he left, I stood at the window looking out over Arlington. 8 months ago, I'd walked out of this building with a cardboard box and a lot of anger. Now I was running the whole operation on my terms. My phone rang. Claire Donovan. "Saw the announcement," she said. "Congratulations, CEO. Thanks. Nothing changes on your end, you know. Same team, same service." "I know. That's why I'm calling. Titan's board approved a major expansion. We want to talk about doubling our contract." After we hung up, Troy poked his head in. "You good?" "Yeah. Just taking it in. Hell of a turnaround. Preston fires you. 8 months later, you're his boss." I laughed. When you say it like that, it sounds almost too easy. Nothing about the last 8 months was easy. True enough. The 14-hour days, the scrambling, the stress of building everything from scratch while keeping clients happy. But we'd done it. "Beer?" Troy asked. "Team's heading to O'Sullivan's to celebrate. Give me 10 minutes. After he left, I sat at that big desk for a moment. Thought about everything that had happened. Getting fired, the LLC reveal, building the company, the clients following me, Preston's surprise visit, Dad's apology, and now this. Some guys would call it revenge. Maybe it was. But it felt more like validation. Proof that I'd been right all along about my value, about my capabilities, about what I could build when I wasn't fighting family politics. I grabbed my jacket and headed out. The team was waiting, and we had a lot to celebrate. As I walked through the office, past employees who now worked for me, past Preston's office where he was actually on the phone doing his job, past all the changes we'd made, I realized something. This was never about getting back at Preston or proving Dad wrong. It was about building something that mattered. Something that'd last. And we'd done it. 10 months after getting fired, I stood in our newly expanded headquarters. 70 employees now, across 3 states. Revenue projected at $120 million annually. Contracts with 8 of the top defense contractors in the country. My name on the door. My team running operations. My strategy driving growth. Preston walked by with some marketing materials. "These look okay for the Lockheed pitch?" I glanced at them. "Good. Maybe add more specifics on the West Coast capabilities." "Yeah, good call." He walked off. No tension, no resentment, just work. My phone buzzed. "Owen, texting from California. San Diego facility secured. We're operational next month. I smiled. The kid was going places. Troy appeared at my door. Board meeting in 10. They want your Q1 projections. Ready to go. As I gathered my materials, I thought about that day Preston fired me. How it felt like the end of everything. Turned out it was just the beginning. The empire I'd built wasn't the one my father started. It was better, more efficient, more focused, more honest about who did what and why. And it was mine. Not bad for a guy who got canned at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday morning.